When you talk, one of the words that keeps kind of permeating my mind is the word persona. And I think we create the greatest thing when we open ourselves up to learning about personas, right? And any good innovator would say, hey, the success that we had came when we went out and started talking to people, finding out who they were, came back to the shop and built something and delivered it to them, right? And I feel like it's a hurdle. It's a hurdle for some of our industries that we work in, because all of the variety of personas that we create in our sales and marketing teams currently start with one common thread: move in with me. So that's the assumption. Then we diversify. Oh, I came from this occupation. I have these interests. I have family close by. I have no one close by. We do good once we get through that doorway, and we've never invited ourselves to go all the way back to the starting line and say, let's really examine what our personas are out there. And when you do that, you start to be exposed to a whole different world of people. And like you said, the comfort of legacy. So that's a very difficult conversation to have, by the way, if you just bought 100 acres, if you just signed a note for a 300 unit building project, or whatever the case may be. So these are difficult things. And we already discussed a little bit about the ignorance. If it already seems too hard to take that big a step into that space, then the easier route is to kind of keep going and get 2% better at what we've done for 30 years.
Actually, I would go one step further though, and it's something that you say to me all the time, right? Like we have, and we do tell marketing folks this all the time as well, you have to go to them. Everyone has always been in this model, you get a postcard, or you have to move in, or something has happened, or Betty, your daughter, really wants you to check out this place and she has 50 other brochures on the kitchen table for you to take a look at. And that people have always gone to the community. And I think it is very hard sometimes for people to reframe their mind to say, no, we have to go to them. I will give a perfect example of this, and it's silly, but it puts it in perspective. Like, I don't know about anyone else, but I have gotten more people knocking on my door to sell things to me than I have in the almost 10 years that I've lived in this home. That has never happened in this home until now. And it's not your political door knocking, which I love, by the way, but it is like pest control, it's gutter cleaning, it's window washing. People are needing to come to you to sell, because then they can build that relationship really, really quickly and talk people like my dad into getting the entire house cleaned with window cleaning, So I think it's like, we maybe need to go back to a little bit of old school thinking of back in the day when there was door-to-door salesmen, and that was okay and normal and not scary, and we're just trying to get the word out for our business. Like, that is what I think sometimes is really, really hard to make a change to, because it is easy to open the door and show an apartment versus showing who you potentially are and what you're able to provide.
I know we want to get to some other questions here as well. There is one thing that I'm thinking of, and it really has to do with, when we encourage providers to kind of turn left and look at something, some of the times the reason is why and should I, of course, that's what we're talking about. But, sometimes there's this little bit of market share too, like what's out there that's available. I think we just want to continue to do a better job and say, there's some things that you're not thinking about that are out there that are worth looking at, right? That's kind of the discussion we're having. And like even what you're saying, I think of things like age in place home readiness, for instance. There's an interesting stat out recently that only about 10% of our homes in the United States are capable of housing an age in place older adult. And they have some criteria about where the primary bathroom might be and entry into the home and stuff like that. That's 10%. So even if you're running a robust brick and mortar independent living community and you'd say, well, my property's ready. I mean, again, it's like, what would make you turn your head a little bit and say, well, we care about our community enough to think there's a market there. There's an interesting dilemma with the cohort of people that I serve. We stop with the wall that says, well, once they move in, they're mine. When we think about other possibilities of, who could be in my portfolio, you could start with something as simple as, hey, I care about the other 90% of homes out there that can't be a good, safe place for you when you turn from 75 to 85. I mean, these are the interesting things that, we want to continue to talk about, to say, hey, this is worth looking at. And, there's probably a multitude of businesses out there, as long as you can kind of redefine the persona that you're interested in looking at.